All right, welcome back to the Florida Football Insiders podcast. Before we get to our guests, let's give you a word from Ticket Smarter and TicketSmarter.com in the mobile app. If you are looking to go to games this weekend, whether it's at Central Florida for the Colorado Showdown, whether it's in New Orleans for USF Tulane, whether it's for big game around the country, Wisconsin and USC, Ticket Smarter and the Ticket Smarter mobile app. I've got a code for you to save you some money as well. Powers 10 will save you $10 off of a $100 purchase, and Powers 20 will get you $20 off of a $300 purchase. You can use this code as many times as you want during the football season, whether it's for NFL, college football, concerts, whatever it is. Ticketsmarter.com and the Ticketsmarter mobile app is your place for the best pricing on the secondary market, safe, secure, and no issues at all. So check out Ticketsmarter.com and the Ticketsmarter mobile app for your ticket options. All right, Matt Murschel, Orlando Sentinel, is going to join us. Matt is the beat reporter for the UCF Knights, covers all things Orlando sports, but right this time of the year, he is all in on the UCF Knights. Fox is coming to Central Florida this week for their big new pregame show as well. So welcome in, Matt.
How are you doing today?
I know it's a busy week for you. A lot of stuff going on. You got Fox coming in. We got a storm brewing a little bit. So you guys
Yeah.
are probably having to deal with potential rain issues with that here in the state of Florida, where I'm at as well. So give me a little sense through 4 weeks. UCF had a bye week last week. Give me a little sense through 4 weeks, the mood of the team. Big dramatic win in their first Big 12 opener a couple weeks ago, 35-34 at TCU. A wild game there that I know you were at. Give me a little sense of where UCF is through 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think right now there's a lot of confidence. This team is riding high. I think obviously the win at TCU was huge for them. This was a game where they fell behind really early, looked very similar to how kind of things went last year on the road. Felt like maybe they weren't going to be able to find a way to do it. They come back and rally from 21 points down in the third quarter. A dramatic win at with about 36 seconds left to play. And that built, that kind of reiterated what this team had been working on all through fall camp. Gus Malzahn, the coach, talked about he wanted to stress this team. He wanted to put them through adversity. He wanted to make sure that when stuff got tough, when times got tough for them, they were able to stand up and really, respond to that. And I think you saw that in that TCU game. They didn't lie down. And they were out there fighting to the very end. I think the thing that really impressed me the most about this team in that game was the fact that they didn't change their personality or the DNA of this team. They are a running team, and RJ Harvey is the guy who kind of sparks the engine, gets the engine going, and they stuck with the running game. And I think that was one of the things that really kind of helped them continue on and find a way to battle back. So they get a big game this week against Colorado. There was already going to be a lot of buzz attached to it. Now you get Fox putting it on at 3:30. You get the big noon kickoff pregame show is going to be on campus for the first time ever. Lots of attention, lots of buzz. And really, UCF feels like this is the time that they can really kind of seize the moment and show the country really what they're all about.
And you also have the dramatics of last week with Colorado winning the dramatic
Yeah.
game last week with the Hail Mary at the end in overtime against who did they play?
Baylor.
Baylor, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, and you got Dion coming back to the state of Florida, where he
Mm-hmm.
grew up and went to high school, and is obviously his fame at Florida State. So lots of stuff going on. Give the audience a sense of what the bounce house will be like. Very interesting home field advantage for UCF. One of the more unique home field advantages in the country.
Yeah, very much so. It's sellout game was a sellout beforehand. I mean, I've seen tickets on secondary markets going as high as $1,100, $1,200,
Wow.
depending on what you want to be at. They announced yesterday that they don't have any more recruit tickets available. That's huge. I mean, when you don't even have room to get your recruits in, I think they're expecting someone like 300 recruits to come in. We've been told the press box is going to be full. They may even have to move some of the NFL scouts around just to make room for those guys. So it is going to be a packed house. That's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. And that stadium, when they get going and the students start jumping up and down and getting obviously the bounce house reputation, that place is just going to rock and roll. And I think it's going to be a unique atmosphere. It's one of the things that I don't know if Colorado has really experienced yet. So to get this opportunity to come in, to have that, the atmosphere that's going to be unbelievable, plus have all the national attention, I just think it's going to be unbelievable. I think the only thing I can really compare it to, and this is very similar, is going back to 2018, when ESPN's College Game Day was on campus for the first time. They were doing a game between UCF and Cincinnati. Both those two teams were ranked. that was an unbelievable atmosphere. That was a night game, and I think that was probably one of the better games. I think this game will probably be just as much, if not better, based on what things are going.
All right, talk about KJ Jefferson. Obviously, we know UCF was going to lean on the running game. I'm sure he is part of. I know he is part of that running attack with his big body. Talk about him in the passing game and maybe his leadership in the program. I know he's only been there less than a year or so, right about 6-8 months. So talk about KJ Jefferson's leadership and his influence on the offense.
Yeah, his leadership's been huge, and KJ to his own right has admitted, I mean, he's had some struggles early on. I think some of that has to do a little bit with the new system. Some of it has to do with, it was nerves early on, but even in a game against TCU where he was a slow start, he was able to utilize his legs. I mean, he was able to take off and run, kind of help, take another dimension to this offense, and that kind of opened things up with the passing game. Once the passing game got going, you saw him step up. There was a moment in the first half he admitted to us after the game he had been injured. He got hurt. Whether it's I think we've heard it was banged up ribs. He got hit hard. And it kind of took the wind out of him. But he didn't want to come out of the game. He told his teammates, "I'm not coming out of the game. I'm going to step in there. We're going to keep playing and keep doing it." That was huge for him because that got his teammates on his side. They said, "Listen, you're going to stay in the game. We're going to make sure we go out there." And you saw what he was able to do, in the second half. Obviously, maybe making a couple big throws. That throw to Kobe Hudson, with 36 seconds for the game-winning touchdown. That was huge. You really kind of get out there and handle the pressure and everything. So he's done a really good job so far. I mean, statistically, passing wise, his numbers aren't outstanding, but he's not turned the ball over, and that's something that Gus Malzahn has talked about. If you can keep control of the ball, get the running game going, and then kind of mix things in, I think there's an opportunity for them for a really stellar performance.
Defensively, as part of this game, I think back to your point of running is going to be to keep Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter off the field on offense. Utilize the clock, milk the clock. I mean, you're dealing with Shedeur, who's a pro prospect, going to play in the NFL. Travis Hunter, we know, is going to be, if not the Heisman Trophy favorite today, one or two in the Heisman Trophy race. And obviously UCF gave up 34 points to TCU, who's not perceived to be a great team this year. Talk about defensively. What are some of the things that you see that, if you can shore up a little bit on defense, you got a chance?
Well, I think for them, Gus mentioned this right off the gate Monday, was they need to get pressure on Shedeur Sanders. I mean, we saw, Baylor sacked him 8 times last week. He's been the most pressured quarterback in the Big 12 right now. Their offensive line is really not that good. It was not great last year. I think he was sacked 56 times last year. It was the worst in the country. They're on that same par this year. They have not been able to fix the offensive line. UCF on the flip side defensively has only 1 sack this season. So they need to be better. They need to apply more pressure on Sanders. And one of the things that Gus said is you can't let him get out of the pocket. You can't let him use his legs, because that's one of the things he does really well is he gets out of the pocket, and when the play starts to break down, he's either able to run or he finds a receiver maybe who's able to get away from the protection and is able to, kind of throw. And you saw that obviously on the Hail Mary play to tie the game up against Baylor. So they've got to contain Sanders, make sure that he's feeling pressure at all times. I think with Travis Hunter, he's such an amazing athlete. I mean, the guy, two-way player, on offense and defense. You saw what he did with the key fumble in the overtime that really saved the game for Colorado, led to the win. I think for the defense, they just got to be physical with him as a receiver. They got to make sure that he doesn't get too many wide open chances to make catches. They got to make it very difficult on him. We know Colorado can't run the football. They're one of the worst running game attacks in the country. So you've got to really kind of shut down. You've got to really shut down Travis Hunter as much as you can. And then, again, both those guys are such great athletes, as you mentioned. It's hard to just completely shut them down, but you've got to limit them to what kind of damage they can do.
Do you anticipate them blitzing more, obviously, with their lack of pressure from the front four? Do you anticipate blitzing? And obviously, when you blitz, that leaves your corners exposed on the outside one-on-one. And say what you want, Colorado's got good receivers other than just Travis Hunter. You got Jimmy Horn. You got the Wester kid who caught the touchdown. They've got receivers now. If you can't pressure, he's going to find some guys open. Do you anticipate more blitzing?
Yeah, I anticipate them to be more aggressive, but not to the point of leaving themselves open, like you said, where you've got guys, I think, what I was studying is the fact that Colorado's offensive line, really much of the pressures come from the right side. So I think UCF's going to try to take advantage of that. I think they're going to mix up some schemes as well. They went man-to-man against TCU in that first half. And you saw Josh Hoover for TCU was able to really move the ball up and down the field. His effectiveness was from quick passes, and he was able to get, 4 or 5, 6 yard kind of completions, and they moved the ball down the field. when UCF switched to zone in the second half, it really confused TCU and they were able to shut them down a little bit. I expect that to be the same sort of situation against Colorado. Maybe kind of showing them a little bit of man-to-man, going to zone, try to find ways to really kind of confuse Shador a little bit and maybe try to get some turnovers here and there. UCF's done a good job of getting interceptions. If they can get a couple picks, flip the field, they'll make it a short field, then they've got opportunities to put up points. My thing is they've got to score early and they've got to build up a little bit of a lead because you don't want Sanders to maybe get an opportunity to start getting some momentum and shut out the crowd.
All right, last question. I'll get you out of here. If you look at the Big 12 as a whole, nationally, it probably looks like, again, it's early, so you never know, but it looks like probably a one bid league when it comes to the college football playoff. Obviously, Utah with a huge win last week in Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. Kansas State loses at BYU. UCF, if you look at UCF's schedule, they got a great opportunity here. If you look at their schedule, they don't play Kansas State. They don't play Oklahoma State. They get BYU, they get Utah, and they get Colorado in their building. If they were able to hold serve with their home games and win the games on the road, which they would be probably favored to win down the road, they got an opportunity here to be a major factor here in the Big 12.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, Gus, we were asked Gus about that a little bit. He's trying to stay as typical as most coaches. I'm only focused on Colorado this week, but you're right. I mean, you look at the fact if they beat Colorado, there's an opportunity maybe to be ranked, back based on how the game goes. They get Florida next week, Florida team that's kind of struggling a little bit. They have an opportunity there. That doesn't impact the Big 12, but still they could be, they could be going in there 5-0 after that game.
Right.
They get Cincinnati at home. Cincinnati hasn't been outstanding. So that's an opportunity. So all of a sudden you go in that second half of that season where you've got those games, as you mentioned, where maybe you're undefeated. You've got a really good chance of maybe kind of putting yourself out there for that playoff mix. So I think what they'd like to do is just they stay healthy and keep doing the things they're doing. They feel like they have a good opportunity. They can't get caught up in the buzz, though. I mean, they can't. If this game gets too much for them and there's too much hype and they lose this game, you can't let that spin out to like it did last year where they lost 5 games in a row. You just got to find a way to kind of keep everything compartmentalized and go out there week in and week out and try to find a way to win. But this Big 12 league, honestly, I'm going to tell you, it is so much parity. I mean, we saw it last weekend. Good teams losing. Oklahoma State, as you mentioned. Kansas has not been great. They were supposed to be ranked high up. You saw what's happened with Kansas State. Arizona was high up. They've fallen down.
West Virginia is pretty average.
West Virginia is pretty average. So this league now has a lot of parity. So there's an opportunity for UCF to really make a strong push and make its case for trying to win the Big 12 championship.
Well, Matt Murschel, enjoy the weekend's festivities. Get some sleep Friday night. Don't be partying with all the youngsters before Big Fox on Saturday. Now, you can find all the Matt's work on Twitter and X with the Orlando Sentinel at OS Matt Murschel, Murschel. He does great work for them covering UCF and all throughout the year covering all things Orlando sports. Enjoy the game Saturday, and we will talk real soon. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.